to Sentio Workshop brought to you by MetricsDAO. My name is Vida and I am education lead at MetricsDAO. And today we will be having a very exciting practical workshop. Sentio is an all-in-one observability platform that helps you gain valuable insights, secure our assets, and troubleshoot transactions for your decentralized applications. Sentio has an easy-to-use, powerful SDK where you can collect and transform data based on smart contract events, transactions, tracings, and states. So really excited to be bringing this workshop today, and um, let's kick this off. So if you have any questions over the course of this presentation, feel free to drop them in the chat, and our speaker will happily answer them. So thank you everyone for joining, and let's start. So Zide, over to you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Veda. And then hello, everyone. So today I'm going to give a pretty hands-on workshop of our product. I think last time we had a chance to do a brief product introduction and product demo. So if you missed that, feel free to check it out on MetricsDAO's YouTube channel later. But today we are going to actually run through the product with a very concrete example. So without further ado, I'll start with the product. And so today we'll actually do a very hands-on workshop by creating a dashboard for the recent, well, not that recent now, but a relatively recent airdrop of the Arbitrum token. So we will take a look at basically, how many people are eligible to this for this airdrop, how many people has claimed the airdrop, things like that. Basically, create a dashboard for this airdrop event. So to start with Sentio, the first step is to basically define how you would like to collect data from a specific smart contract, right? And in this case, the smart contract is the airdrop smart contract of the Arbitrum airdrop. And to do that, the first step is to sort of create a sample project. And we actually already have a command for you to do that. You can actually run this command to create a skeleton project. And to save time, actually I already did that right before the workshop. And once you run it, a sample project will be created for you. And once you have that sample project, which is called airdrop in this case here, as you can see from my text editor, I think the two, it will create an entire project, but the most important part is actually the ABI folder, from which we will you'll provide the ABI of the smart contract, and we will generate all the TypeScript classes based on these ABIs, right? And then the second important part in the project is the processor .ts file. So the process.ts file essentially is the entry point of your on-chain data processing logic. And I'll actually show you how to write the process logic later on. But as you can see here, so with the sample project, we actually automatically import a sample ABI called x2y2 here. And you can we also give you a sample processor file logic. And as you can see here, we already import a bunch of related classes for you, sort of the x2y2 processor, the counter class, and gauge class, and which I'll explain later. What does that mean? But in order for us to work with the Arbitrum airdrop contract, we actually started by we actually have a command called Sentio add that can be used to quickly add an ABI to our project. So here you can just say yarn Sentio add, and put in the chain ID and the contract address, and that will okay. Oh yeah, actually we have to get into the project first and then run this again, and that should automatically download the API for that contract for that chain ID from from the Etherscan server. And as you can see here, an API has been downloaded, and the related TypeScript file has been generated. As you can see here, token distributor.json is actually the API file, and all the related TypeScript class has been automatically generated. So in this specific smart contract or API, the most important part is actually they have two events. One is called can claim. So can claim basically create eligibility for each address to claim the token. And there's another event called has claimed. So has claimed event is emitted whenever someone actually go and claim that token. So we will basically try to track these two events and create a whole bunch of metrics and dashboard based on that. So if we go to our processor file, so we can actually just, in this case, delete everything here because we're working with a new project, new API file. And then we can start by import some classes. Usually to work with a contract, you can start by import the context class. So in this case, the token distributor is the name of the smart contract, and a class called token distributor context will be automatically created. Similarly, you want to have the processor class, and then you can have all the has claimed events, basically the event you're interested in, and can claim event in this case. Okay, and then we can start from there. So basically, the logic of Sentio's processor start with the processor file, right? So you have the processor class, and you can bind this with a address. So give it the address. The address of the contract is this, and you pass in the address. And you, in this case, because this contract actually is live on Arbitrum, so you have to give it a network ID as well. So give the network network. So in order to specify the network, you can import the ETH-chain ID ETH-chain ID class, and and you can just specify the network by putting ETH-chain ID dot Arbitrum. Yeah, so that basically specifies the process and say just bind this address and with this network ID, and then you can then further attach for example, an event processor in this case. So for example, you want to process the has claimed event. You can just say on has claimed event and pass it an event handler. And in the event handler, you will create actually a event handler function. So you can say async function has claimed. And you will actually pass two parameter to it. One is the event itself, and the other one is the context. So so the event is just the event you want to process, and also the contract's context. And you can pass that event handler to the on event. And then basically from there you can write the logic for how you want to process that event. And the processor will just automatically call that event handler for each of the event whenever that event is occurred. So in the event handler, so basically, the question is, how do we want to process that has claimed events, right? So this is where Sentio is really powerful, where that has claimed event is already automatically generated from your ABI. So you can really just very easily access its amount. For example, you want to access its amount. You want to say how much token is being claimed in that specific event. You can just say the amount equals to event dot args dot amount, and that actually will just give you the amount of that event. And because we know this is the Arbitrum token, and we know the decimal, we can define the decimal here. Is 18, and because when we get the amount, it's actually the amount in original form, and here to get the actual amount it represents, we can just scale it down by the decimal, and that will gives you the actual amount of Arbitrum it represents. And besides the amount, we're also interested in who claimed it, right? Who's the claimer? So in that case, we can similarly get the claimer address by access the recipient field of that event. And then once we get the amount and the claimer, the next step will just be, so here we're going to track, basically we're going to track two metrics. The first one is called the has claimed counter. So this is actually a good place to introduce the concept of counter and basically the two major types in Sentio. One is called metrics, and the other one is called event logs. In a nutshell, metrics are time series data that is used to record numeric data, whereas event logs are used to record structured data. And the metrics is further, there are further two subcategories within metrics, namely the gauge and the counter. So the gauge will record the instantaneous numeric value, while the counter records the cumulative numeric value. So here, let's just first use a counter to record the total number of Arbitrum token that has been claimed. So to do that, we can just say context dot meter dot counter, and we give the counter a name. In this case, let's say we just call it has claim counter, and then we say add, and we can just add the amount to that counter, and that counter will just keep track of the total amount of token that has been claimed. And also here, when you add anything to a metric, it's also possible to add a label to it. And here we're going to add a coin symbol label to it. So this coin symbol label is actually a special reserved label that will allow you to join with what we call a price feed later when you're creating the dashboard. So that allows you to not only get the total amount of token, but also get its related price. So you can sort of calculate the total dollar value of token that has been claimed. And besides the counter, we're going to record another data, which is using the event logger. So the event logger, as I said, is the structured data that allows us to record a more detailed situation or information of this event. So here we're going to give create an event logger. So you can do that by just say context.event logger.emit, and you can call that event logger has claimed, right? So the event logger actually allows you to create a message. So in this case, you can just basically create a log that says, certain amount of Arbitrum is claimed by, the claimer address. And you can apply different types of different types of label to it. And for example, you can say you can record claimer, as a label, the amount as label. Similarly, you can put a coin symbol here, and one special label you can apply to an event logger is what we call a distinct ID. So distinct ID field actually allows you to, when you're creating the dashboard, when you're doing the query, allows you to count not only the total amount, but also the distinct amount or unique amount on that field, right? So in this case, so this is very similar to the DAU concept, right? Daily active user concept, where you can say, not only give me how many claimers are claiming the token, but also how many unique claimers are claiming the token. So this helps you to calculate things like DAU, AAU, things like that. So that's actually the things we're going to track for the has claimed event. So similarly, here we can also track the can claim event. So can claim is basically the event when Arbitrum says who is eligible to claim a certain amount of token. So we're essentially going to do a very similar thing for that. And we can pass down this a little bit old API, but we can also pass that handler to the event handler. So once we have that, actually let's use some old syntax because we're using the old version of the SDK. You can just directly pass the chain ID here. Yeah. So once you have those, you can just have it ready. You can just upload everything to Sentio by say yarn Sentio upload. So that will actually build your code and upload everything into Sentio. Yeah. So the first time if a corresponding project with the same name is not created on Sentio, it will ask you if you want to create the project, and you can just say yes. Yep. And that is done, and it will actually give you a link from where you can check if your data is correctly uploaded. So let me share my browser window. Yeah, so if everything works properly, you will see that the corresponding project has been created for you, and you will see on the data source page, we already start the indexing process for your processor. So as you can see the log where it is being processed. So for the Arbitrum airdrop project, it will take about 15 to 20 minutes to for Sentio to actually indexing everything you define in your processor file. So to save time here, I actually created another project that I have the data ready. Actually, I'll upload this exactly the same logic. As you can see here, this is our can claim counter and has claim counter. And also we can find all the event logs here. So I just continue with the workshop from here, and then we can check back. As you can see, from our project, original project, the backfill process has already begun, and it will give you a progress. How much? Yeah, as you can see, it jumped from 6% to 19%. So we'll continue our workshop from this project. And as you can see, once the indexing is finished here, you will see a list of the metrics you collected, right? So this is the has claimed counter, right? So the cumulative token that is being claimed since the beginning, and also the can claim counter, which is a constant number, which is is expected because once the Arbitrum official team set up the claim eligibility, it's always a actually constant from that point. So from there, you can actually start to create dashboard for it. As you can see, we can even with just 2 events, we can create a whole bunch of pretty powerful dashboard here. So I'll actually walk through the process of creating that. Let's start with the new dashboard. Great. So this is basically the dashboard, and you can create add different widgets based on the metrics and event logs you collected. So let's start with something relatively simple. So first of all, let's just visualize the can claim and has claim counter, right? So maybe the has claim counter is a little bit more interesting. So as you can see, you can already see how many of that token has been claimed from the very beginning. And by the way, everything on Sentio is real time. That means whenever there's new block, the new data will always be reflected in real time within a few seconds delay. That's for one. And also everything, every data collected is since the creation of the contract, unless otherwise specified in your process code. So for example, we can, instead of 30 days, we can go back 90 days and say apply, and sure enough, it shows you since the day that contract has been created, how that hasn't changed. So you can really see how the sort of the quick increase on the first few days. This is people rushing to claim this token, and it just grows much more slowly since then. So you can just give it a title and call it has claimed counter, and hit create, and you'll have your first dashboard ready. You can try with different graph types. For example, this is just a simple line graph. You can just clone it and actually change it to for example, a query value. So query value just shows you the numeric value of the. You can specify by default is the last value of that time series. It can be total, mean, max, etc. But in this case, we want to see what's the total number of token claimed till today, right? So that's the correct number. You can change the style of the number. For example, by default, it's compact, but you can change it to standard. And because it's always integer, you can change it to, to show just a standard integer. So that many Arbitrum token has been claimed thus far. You can give it a little bit of color if you want. You can also show the background chart. That means you sort of overlay how that value has been changed historically with the query value. So that would give you another widget. You can move things around, zoom in and zoom out with some UI instantly. The next task I want to do is sort of demonstrate the usage of the token, the price feed. So with that, you can use our new time series module, and then again import exactly the same thing, the has claim counter. But also you can add a query here and set that to price, and that will actually give you the price of Arbitrum. Right. So as you can see, we already have 2 series, right? The green series actually gives you the price of Arbitrum over time. And you can just create a formula from this graph and just say A times B, right? And that will actually gives you, the each of the point of that new series represents, the number of token claimed at that time times the token price at that time. So that's the total value, dollar value that has been claimed at that time point. So, you can just give the name, say total US dollar value, right? And you can actually hide this too if the total value is the only thing you're interested. And you can just hide that 2 series and only show the total US dollar series, and you can give it a title, and hit add, and that gives you the total US dollar value at that time point. And of course, you can always clone it and change it to a current value if that's something you're interested in. Very similarly, I'll change it to standard, and yeah. So that's the usage of the price feed and a little bit about the formula. Another thing I want to showcase is sort of the AAU feature, and that has to be created from the event logs. So you can create a new analytic pane, and you can select the has claimed event, and you can also set this to be accumulated active users. So that will give you, in terms of how much, how many unique addresses have claimed the token cumulatively till today. So so from this graph, you can also change it to a sort of like a query value style, and yeah, that gives you how many addresses that have claimed the token thus far. Total, you can name it to unique addresses. Yeah. And another thing we can do is actually visualize, okay, for all the eligibility, right? Token eligibility, what's the distribution? Meaning, how many addresses are eligible to a certain amount of Arbitrum token. So very similarly, to do that, you can actually create a analytics pane and select can claim. Actually group it by the amount someone can claim, and you can actually it makes more sense to create this as a pie chart, and just like max here because the time series actually change up to a peak and then goes back to 0. So you can select the max here, and this actually gives you for each claim amount how much token that is eligible to claim in that bucket. For example, here you can see you can actually change the name to amount, use the variable amount, so that will help you with visualization. So example here shows 18% of the all eligible addresses can claim 625 Arbitrum token. 94.7K addresses can claim 875 token, etc. So you can call this can claim distribution and hit create. And that will actually add the bar chart to a dashboard. Yeah, so I think that gives you probably a pretty good understanding of what can be done in the different types of graph you can create, a dashboard you can create with Sentio, even by collecting just 2 very simple events. And also a bonus point, another thing I want to cover very quickly is actually the event logs itself. So not only you can create this dashboard based on these event logs, you can access the raw data of these event logs in our event logs interface. So as I demonstrated earlier, for each for each can claim and has claim event, we actually logged a pretty detailed message say certain amount of arbitrum is claimed by someone, or in the can claim case, certain amount of arbitrum is granted to a certain address, right? And here with this interface, you can actually do pretty advanced search here. So for example, you can say, okay, I want to find all the addresses that is eligible to 1,000 to 1,020 arbitrum, right? You can specify that filter, and you can just sure enough you can find all the eligibility that is falls within that range. So in this case, this address is eligible to 1,125 arbitrum, and of course you can further filter this by other fields. You can just say I'm interested in these three addresses, and you will just narrow down everything that matches the condition for you. So that's a great way if you want to say, I guess it's less relevant for can claim because everything sort of happens in the instance. But if you switch to has claim, then you can say you can actually quickly find, that for that amount of arbitrum that is claimed by a certain address, you can quickly identify, when that is being claimed, what's the transaction hash, what's the block number, etc. So with that, I think that actually concludes the workshop today. I demonstrated how you can set up the data indexing, how you can set up a dashboard, and how you can use the event logs interface to narrow down a certain transaction quickly. I can cover more advanced topics such as set up alerts or zoom into a transaction in future workshops. And we can take the time to check back. Yeah, actually, for the project we just uploaded, as you can see, in about 15-20 minutes, everything is fully indexed and being updated in real time, and you can see the metrics it collected and the event logs it collected, etc. Yeah. So yeah, with that, I think I'll conclude my session, and happy to take some questions.
Thank you so much for the very insightful workshop you have delivered us today. We do have a couple of questions from the viewers. So one of the questions is, are all Sentio components developed internally, or are external components used?
So I think in principle we developed, of course we use some open source project within our system. For example, I think the sort of the dashboard components are based on, I believe it's EHchart, which is a Apache project, and also of course to store the data we use some open source data storage such as time series DB and Elasticsearch and ClickHouse. But other than that, the entire the indexing infrastructure and the sort of the SDK is completely developed in-house.
Great. And thank you so much for your question, Amir. It was a great question. And we have another one. Is it possible to drill down in the charts?
Sure. So depends on what do you mean by drill down. So for example, of course here we don't have that much. Actually, yeah. So you can see here, for example, for this graph, right? You can have. So first of all, you can really just zoom in to a time span you're interested by just clicking on the on the UI, Actually, and as you can see here, this actually represents different series. So it's actually possible to not just group by, but also filter, right? You can say, you can just choose, one amount, right? And that will just show you one series of the data. And you can really gives you great flexibility. You can, choose one series, you can group by different fields, things like that. It really gives you great flexibility to slice and dice your data set. So I don't know if that's something you mean by uh, sort of drill down in the charts.
Yeah, Amir, let us know if that is something that you meant. And if others have any questions right now, then this is the perfect moment to ask. Whether it's about a platform, whether it's something linked with analytics. Yeah, so there's a lot of knowledge right now in the room. And this workshop will be followed by the second workshop as well. And maybe you could tell us a little bit what we can expect in the second workshop.
Yeah. So yeah, as I alluded to earlier, I think I'll cover something like how to create alerts. So for example, right now you already have the metrics and the event logs that is being updated live, right? So a very natural next step will be, okay, for example, one of the metrics is really important to me. For example, you are watching some whale who is making the claim of the airdrop, for example, and then you want to set an alert for that action, right? You can say, whenever a certain address made the claim that is greater than, or you can in general say, whenever a total amount of claim is greater than certain amount during a time window, then send me an email or send me a Slack message or a Telegram message to inform me that is happening. So that's something that will be covered in our alerts functionality. Uh, it can also be as general as some of our customers users just say, okay, whenever there's a smart contract call, not a EOA but a CA call to our smart contract, then alert us, right? Because that could be a hacker or something else. You can set alerts based on that logic as well. So that's one topic I would like to cover. And another topic is what we call transactions. This is something that is still in beta, which is why I want to cover it next time. But essentially, that allows you to have a debugger view of of a specific transaction. Right? It allows you to step over a transaction execution line by line and see how the variables and are changing, along that process. How the call graph, what is a call graph, etc. That really helps you to zoom into one specific transaction and see what's going on. So that's sort of the two advanced topic I wanna cover next time.
Amazing, amazing. And in the meantime, if there is anyone here who would like to um, join your community, maybe ask some questions if there are any questions, what would be a good place to do that?
Yeah, we have our own Discord channel and Telegram group listed on our website, and also I'm hanging out in the MetricsDAO server from time to time. And I think I can share my ID later. But if you have just a question about Sentio anytime, just ping me on Discord. I'll happy to answer them.
Awesome. And I remember that after the past demo session, some of you actually connected with you over Discord. So thank you everyone who actually asked the questions, and you're welcome to do that right now as well. So if there's something that comes up, then yeah, just know that you can ask. And yeah, and thank you everyone for attending. And it seems like we don't have any more questions in the chat. So in this case, we can finish the session. Thank you everyone for attending. Thank you so much, today for hosting. And is there anything else you'd like to share with us before we finish for the day?
Yeah, just thank you so much for time. And if you if you have any questions, feel free to ping me. Give us a follow on Twitter. We're just at Sentio XYZ for our latest updates. Yeah, other than that, yeah, feel free to provide any feedback, questions directly to me.
Awesome. I'm sharing the
Yep.
Twitter in the chat, so do give a follow. And as well, if you have, like as was mentioned, feedback too, and if you see how the platform can be improved, I'm sure your feedback is going to be really valued. Right. So thank you everyone then, and we'll see you in future sessions. Bye bye.
Thanks everyone. Bye bye.